What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking the latest episode of WWE Timeline, entitled One More Match. And as you could probably guess, it's all about the Christian versus Randy Orton feud from the summer of 2011. I am so happy that they dedicated an episode of this show to this feud. I literally just said an episode or two ago. I don't think it was on the last one. I think the last one, by the time I recorded that, I already knew they were doing this one. It was either in the Brett and Owen one or even as far back as the first one a few weeks ago on the Daniel Bryan versus Miz feud. I had said, if they're going to be focusing on underrated rivalries from WWE's history, I want an episode on Edge versus Randy Orton. And sure enough, we friggin' got it. We got 2 episodes on 2 of my favorite feuds of all time. One on Cena versus AJ Styles, and then now one on Orton versus Christian. That's pretty damn cool. This was a very good episode. I don't think the show was supposed to explore the greatest feuds in WWE history, because if they were, we would have seen Stone Cold versus Vince, or Rock versus Stone Cold, or whatever. But I feel like we've heard about those feuds enough where I just don't care, honestly, to hear more about these feuds. Nothing that we don't already know. And if these episodes aren't going to feature new content, then what's the point of reliving Austin and McMahon again? You know what I'm saying? And that would be like a 2-hour long episode anyway. So I like that they're diving deeper into these lesser known feuds or lesser remembered feuds like Orton and Christian. The equivalent to that would be CM Punk versus John Cena. Everyone always talks about the Cena-Punk matches, how classic they are, and they are, don't get me wrong, they're some of my favorite matches of all time. But I feel like that's another feud that we talk about constantly and not enough about Christian and Orton, which was happening simultaneously over on the SmackDown brand in 2011. So they start off the episode, as always, narrated by Mauro Ranallo, with the success that Edge and Christian found in the tag team ranks in the late 90s and the early 2000s, before Christian kind of branched off on his own. While Christian kind of found mid-card success as an Intercontinental Champion and whatnot, he came up short of becoming the World Champion in 2005. He competed for the championship against John Cena and Chris Jericho at the 2005 Vengeance pay-per-view. Fell short. Obviously, he became World Champion over in TNA, but they're not going to talk about that when he left in 2005. Edge, on the other hand, did win multiple World Championships. Now, the narrative that they take with this episode is all about Christian and his relationship with Edge. Not so much about the Christian it's all about the Christian and Orton feud, but it starts with Christian and Edge and it kind of ends with Christian and Edge as well. So while Christian kind of struggled to reach that next step to superstardom in WWE, Edge did. He got there. He won the multiple world championships, won the WWE title, won the World Heavyweight Championship. Christian did help Edge retain the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 27. They show the footage of that when Edge beat Del Rio in his final televised match in WWE at WrestleMania. And then Edge was forced to retire due to the neck injury, which of course he came back from this past year. But he was initially forced to retire back in April of 2011. He cut this great promo, which they show highlights of, and it really got emotional at certain points. And as a result, the World Heavyweight Championship was declared vacant. Christian had already lost the number 1 contenders match to Del Rio like a week earlier on SmackDown, which a lot of people forget about. They don't show that here, but I think it was the SmackDown after WrestleMania, because I think the Edge promo was 8 days after WrestleMania. The SmackDown after WrestleMania, Del Rio beat Christian, and when the winner, I think, would have gone on to face Edge at Extreme Rules in a ladder match for the World Heavyweight Championship. So we almost got Edge and Christian at that pay-per-view, but Del Rio beat Christian. So Del Rio was already the number 1 contender. He needed an opponent for that title match of the pay-per-view. And Christian earns the title shot. So he ended up going on to become the number 1 contender, win a Battle Royal, and win the championship at Extreme Rules in this amazing ladder match with Del Rio. One of my favorite moments as a fan. It was so fucking cool. They show Christian's promo from when he thanked the fans and, kind of soaked in the moment of being the world champion on the subsequent SmackDown, only to be interrupted by Mark Henry, the Great Khali, which I completely forgot about, and Randy Orton. During the course of his promo, he thanked the fans, said that Edge told him after the win that Edge said that he deserved it, which was cool. But yeah, he was interrupted by Mark Henry, Great Khali, and Randy Orton, and all of them staked their claim at a potential title shot against Christian. Out comes the then SmackDown general manager, Teddy Long, And he was, polling the audience. Who does the audience want to see face Christian for the World Heavyweight Championship? And they chose, obviously, Randy Orton. Why do you think they put those three guys out there? Because they knew the fans would obviously go with Randy Orton, who was white hot at that time, as a babyface. And that's what they did. So not only does Teddy Long make Orton and Christian official for the World Heavyweight Championship, he makes it official for that night's SmackDown. Doesn't save it until Over the Limit or like the next week. They booked the match that same night. And so Teddy Long gave the WWE Universe what they wanted to see. That night in a great match, Orton beat Christian to win the World Heavyweight Championship. I was so fucking pissed as a fan, as many other people were at that point, on the internet, on Twitter, complaining about how the hell could they take the championship off of this guy after so long, after only a 2-day reign. For so long, people had petitioned and lobbied to see Christian as the world champion. And after only 2 days, because they taped the show on Tuesdays at that point, and the show aired on Friday, so technically he was a 5-day reigning world champion, but it really only ended after 2 days. So they could put the belt right back on Randy fucking Orton, who people liked up to that point, but after he beat Christian, the tide started to turn a little bit. Not in Christian's favor, but as far as being against Orton and the fact that he was a bland babyface and blah, blah, blah. So Christian came out the next week, said that he actually agreed and respected Teddy Long's decision to do what he did the week before. He also congratulated Randy Orton on his victory. They had a rematch set for the Over the Limit pay-per-view where Christian had his obligated rematch of the World Heavyweight Championship. That, to me, was the best match they had in the course of their feud. This was before Christian went heel, which I'll get to in a second. They had a match at the Over the Limit pay-per-view, which was fucking awesome. It was a great, great match. I still watch it back to this day, and I thoroughly enjoy it. One of my favorite Christian and Orton matches of all time. It was so good. And they even say, Christian came out on SmackDown the week later, after losing to Orton again, saying, hey, listen, that was one of my favorite matches ever. Thank you for giving me one of my best matches in my entire career. And I know Orton feels the same, because when I met Christian a couple of years ago, he even said that Randy and Christian regarded those matches as some of their favorite in their respective careers. But at any rate, though, he said that he congratulated him again on a job well done, retaining that championship. But I know I can beat you, Randy. I know I can take that championship from you. And that was when the rematch, the wheels for the rematch kind of started to turn. So Christian comes out the week later. I think he beat like Mark Henry or something at the start of the show. I'm pretty sure it was the June 3rd episode of SmackDown. I remember the whole fucking timeline of this feud, okay? So Christian comes out after beating Mark Henry and says, hey, I think I deserve another opportunity. I just beat Mark Henry. I won another match. Let's poll the audience. And they did poll the audience, and they wanted to see Christian face Orton again. Teddy Long said, hey, no can do, brother. Didn't explain why, at least as far as from what they show here. But he says, I can't do it. But what I can do is make you the special guest referee for tonight's World Heavyweight Championship match between Randy Orton and Sheamus. So I think they had a triple threat the week before between Mark Henry, Christian, and Randy Orton. I'm sorry, Sheamus, Christian, and Mark Henry, where the winner would face Randy on this show for the World Championship. Christian won. I think by pinning Christian, if I'm not mistaken. So the winner ended up facing Orton, that being Sheamus. He did help Randy Orton win. Sheamus had the match won at one point. Him and Christian were bickering after Christian was going to make the 3 count, and then Christian feigned like a wrist injury. And then Sheamus was like, what the hell? Why did you do that? And they were pushing each other back and forth. Christian slaps Sheamus, and then Orton catches Sheamus in the RKO to retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Just as Christian grabs the World Championship to give to Orton, he smacks him over the face with it. Right dab in the face with that World Heavyweight Championship belt. It was such a great moment. You had to know it was coming eventually. But it solidified the heel turn. And Christian, what was so cool about it, he didn't want to cost Randy that championship. This was great storytelling. He didn't want to cost Randy that championship. Rather, he wanted to make sure that he retained that title so he can be the one to beat Randy for that belt. Because again, as he said the week earlier, I know I can beat you, Randy. I know I can take that I know I can take that championship from you. So that's why he did that, which I thought was awesome. From there, he said, I want one more match. I want one more match, my World Heavyweight Championship. He goes off in the audience and says, listen, the same people that are criticizing me right now for what I did to Randy Orton last week and smacking him in the face with that World Championship belt were the same people that were complaining a few months ago when I lost the World Heavyweight Championship to Randy Orton in a matter of days. What the hell? I was screwed out of the World Heavyweight Championship. I want one more match. He says, listen, brother, I'm doing things on my terms now, Randy. I'm doing things on my terms. I'm going to retain. I want back my World Heavyweight Championship. I'm not doing it for the peeps. I'm not doing it for the fans. I'm not doing it for you. I'm not doing it for Teddy Long. I'm doing it for Christian. So Orton agrees after what Christian did to him on that episode of SmackDown on the June 3rd show. He agrees to one more match at the Capital Punishment pay-per-view. Orton wins again. Though this time, I will say, I don't remember much about the match. The show sucked overall. But Christian did have his foot under the ropes. And the referee didn't see it. Orton hit the RKO. Christian didn't kick out. But his foot was clearly under the rope. And the referee didn't see it. Orton declared the victor. Christian comes out on SmackDown the next week. Gets in Teddy Long's face. Teddy's like, yeah, I agree with you. The referee, it was a bad call. And, the match should have continued. But the referee's decision is final. Which I fucking hate that logic. Just because in the moment, I guess now it's final 5 days later. But in the moment, the referee can restart the match, and they've done this several times. So none of this referee decision final bullshit, because they can clearly restart the match if they wanted to, which they've done many, many times before. But I guess what he means is 5 days later, it doesn't really matter, because it's in the books, whatever, it's done. Which, again, is ridiculous, but whatever. But he does tell Christian, if you want another shot at the World Heavyweight Championship, you're going to have to win tonight's tag team match. You and Mark Henry are going to face Randy Orton and Kane. I think Mark and Kane were feuding at that point during the midst of the Mark Henry Big Show feud. I think that's when that was going on, and which I completely forgot about. So Henry and Christian win, and the ending was great. So Orton RKO's Christian, distracts Orton long enough, Christian does, so Mark Henry can capitalize and hit the world's strongest slam on Mark Henry, Mark Henry can hit the world's strongest slam on Randy Orton to pin him and win the match. He pinned the world champion. Mark Henry logically probably should have gotten the title shot, not Christian, but Christian still won and earned himself another title shot for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. That leads us to Money in the Bank after they sign the contract, and when they show the recap of the contract signing for the match, the lawyer that Christian has and brings down to the ring with him, and I realized this when I was watching the Money in the Bank pay-per-view about a month ago on the anniversary of the event, on July 17th, because they showed in the build-up to the match the contract signing for the pay-per-view. The lawyer is I forgot what his name was, or is rather, but it's the referee currently from AEW. There's two bald referees, but the one on Being the Elite that goes 1, 2, 3, like the one that takes everything so seriously. It's not Bryce, it's the other referee, but I'm sure if I heard the name I would remember. But that was the lawyer. And I'm like, I knew I recognized that guy. And this was fucking 9 years ago. He looks exactly the same, so I thought that was funny. Anyway, though, so they have the match, and Orton, even beforehand, said, listen, we had one match, and I beat you. It was a great match. We had another epic match, and I beat you again. And then you complained, and you whined, and you bitched. In typical Orton fashion, he says all this and goes, listen, now your whining is starting to make me angry. And you don't like when I get angry. You don't want to know what happens when I get angry. So that's what he said. And basically that led into the stipulation for this match, where if Randy Orton got himself disqualified against Christian, he would have cost himself the World Heavyweight Championship. And that's exactly what fucking happened. So Christian spits in Randy's face. That pisses Orton off to the point where he fucking blatantly low blows Christian to lose the match, and that costs him the World Heavyweight Championship. So Christian is now a 2-time world champion, albeit by DQ, which was a shitty finish, but hey, he won the match, I guess, whatever. He won the championship. Christian said that his anger, Randy Orton's anger, is why he's not the World Heavyweight Champion anymore. So that whole stipulation, and Orton was talking about his anger, that's why he's no longer the World Heavyweight Champion. Christian back on top. He's the World Champion once again. Orton demands a rematch on the SmackDown after the pay-per-view. Christian says, no. You're going to have to wait in line, just like I did, and jump through all the hoops that I fucking did too. So Christian denies it. Triple H comes out the next week, after being deemed the new COO of WWE in storyline. He announces a rematch for SummerSlam, albeit this time a no-holds-barred match. anything goes for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. As a preview for the pay-per-view, Orton just beats the shit out of R-Truth in a match they had at the end of an episode of SmackDown, I think in late July, early August. Pretty sure it was late July. I remember all this shit. I remember all this shit from when I was watching 9 years ago, so this is cool. They show Orton beating the Great Khali in a random-ass match 2 days before the pay-per-view. Beating Khali, I think, with an RKO. And this was Khali as a heel. This was back when Khali was a heel randomly for like a couple of weeks or months or something when he was with Jinder Mahal. And the whole storyline was a complete waste of time, but it was whatever, and it was fine while it lasted. So Christian, after Orton beats Khali and gets a minor momentum boost before the pay-per-view, he comes out and tells Orton, listen, I got not an insurance policy. I thought it was Tyson Tomko, to be honest with you. He goes, I got the best thing going, and I have the advantage on Sunday. That was a great hook, because it made me more excited for a match that I was already looking forward to, but it was a match we had seen like literally 5 times before. We had seen it on SmackDown, Over the Limit, Capital Punishment, and Money in the Bank. That's 4 matches, 4 major World Championship matches before they got to this one. So I could see why people would not be looking forward to it, but that was a nice hook for the pay-per-view. Obviously, it was going to be Edge. We all kind of figured it'd be Edge, but what if it was a Tyson Tomko? Or what if it was Chris Jericho? Chris Jericho, by that point, had not been seen in WWE. He got punted in the head by Randy Orton's storyline like a year earlier, and they punted him right off to Dancing with the Stars, did all of his other stuff, wrote another book, I think, blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking, okay, Jericho makes perfect sense. Orton put him out of action. He put him out of commission. Christian and Jericho used to be tag team partners years earlier. This is a great way for Jericho to go, for them to reintroduce Jericho back into the fold. This is perfect. And even after Edge came out, I'm thinking, okay, it's just a ruse, and that would have been a great swerve. And maybe they tried to get Jericho, and Jericho said no. I know he didn't end up coming back until like early 2012. I don't know. But I thought that would have been fucking awesome. Like, this is a great way to continue off of the Orton and Jericho feud, keep the belt on Christian for a little longer, and everyone wins. And Christian finally gets a decisive victory over Randy Orton, which he never fucking got, by the way. Not even once. At least not during this portion of the feud. They had a few matches a couple of years later where he beat Randy Orton, like in a triple threat match clean. I think he pinned him one other time. Very rarely did he pin Randy Orton. And that did not at all happen during this feud in 2011. But it ended up being Edge. Edge comes out and says, listen, I was proud of you. But, you just kept complaining and kept complaining until, you just wouldn't stop. And I never knew that my best friend till the day I die, Christian, could be such a whining little bitch. And then Edge just walks off. Christian's pissed. Randy comes out. They have a great match where Orton, and I rewatched the match in full a couple of weeks ago on the anniversary of the 2011 SummerSlam pay-per-view. Orton spends a majority of the match beating the shit out of Christian with kendo sticks, chairs, what have you, everything. Literally anything you could think of, he beats the shit out of Christian with for the majority of the match before he wins. And you would think, okay, he beats the crap out of Christian. Christian wins by the skin of his teeth with interference from this guy or that guy. Nope. Orton wins clean, LOL. And it was a great RKO. He RKO'd him on the steel steps after Orton jumped off, or rather Christian jumped off the second or third top rope, whatever. But I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. I can't give this guy one win. But the match was great, so I digress. So Orton won back the championship. That was it for the feud. They didn't show any of the other matches they had, and they had another rematch after this on SmackDown, a steel cage match that Orton won to retain the championship. They had another match, a couple of actually more matches in 2013, 2014. All those matches were great. I think actually one of those matches gave Christian a concussion. I'm pretty sure. Right after SummerSlam 2013, I'm pretty sure that's what happened. And that's why he was out for a little while longer. But he came back in 2014 for a very brief while before he got hurt again. And they had a match or two at that point, and they always worked well together. And, of course, I was really happy they showed this to close out the episode. They don't show any of that stuff, but what they do show is the little minor match. It is technically a match from June of this year, when the night after Orton beat Edge at Backlash, Christian comes on out to the aid of his friend the next night on Raw, and challenges Orton to a match. Now, Orton was the one who had to kind of get it out of Christian. Christian didn't want to wrestle. He was retired, blah, blah, blah. But it was unsanctioned, so it technically didn't count. It wasn't a real match. Christian did nothing. He got low-blowed by Ric Flair, and then he came back and he got punted in the head by Orton. So that's all that really happened. But it was cool that they acknowledged it, and Orton even said, do you want one more match? I'll give you one more match. And I thought that was awesome. And they kind of close this thing out by discussing, or when I say they, I mean Morrow. Morrow says that original 2011 feud solidified Christian as a main event star and a world champion caliber performer. So I thought that was great. I really, really enjoyed this episode. I love the Orton-Christian feud. The booking was absolutely questionable. Christian never really fucking beat this guy. Orton beat him like 5 or 6 times. Yeah, Christian won at Money in the Bank, but by fucking DQ. Like, come on, man. You could tell Vince really hated Christian. But as far from an in-ring standpoint, the matches were amazing, so I really can't complain too much. But I thought it was good. I loved rewatching this, revisiting, and reliving this rivalry on the WWE Network as part of this episode of WWE Timeline. One more match. Very excited to see what are the rivalries they resurrect and they relive for this show moving forward. I hope they continue the theme of exploring feuds that don't get a lot of love, like Orton and Christian, like Cena and Styles, like Miz and Bryan, like Bret and Owen. Feuds like that. I would really be happy to see that moving forward. So be sure to check out all my other WWE Timeline reviews right here on the channel, in the playlist in the description box down below. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. And yeah, that's about it, guys. So take care. I'm Graham Jason Matthews. Have a great one, and I'll catch your ass down the road.